So this happened when I was a kid, maybe 12 or 13. I was living with my dad outside an Apache reservation in Arizona. One night, my mom got really sick, so we had to drive into town to get her medicine. The town was about 50 miles away, through the middle of nowhere. We were driving in my dad's old Ford pickup truck when the engine started making weird noises and then just turned off. So my dad pulled over to the side of the road to check under the hood. He told me to stay in the truck. I was sitting there with the window down when all of a sudden I smelled something horrible, like rotten eggs mixed with roadkill. It made me want to gag. Then I noticed the wind completely stopped. Everything went silent. My neck started itching and I got this sick feeling in my stomach. I called out to my dad, but I got no response. I called out again louder, and still nothing. That's when I saw something run in front of the truck. I could barely see it through the headlights. It was only there for maybe a second, but I saw it clear as day. This thing was huge. It had to be 7 feet tall at least, even though it was hunched over. It was running on these deer legs with hooves, but it had a human-looking torso and this messed up coyote head. No fur, just gray skin stretched over muscle. The snout was too long and the teeth were massive. Then it stopped and turned its head and looked right at me. I swear to God, it smiled at me. I froze. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I tried to yell for my dad, but nothing came out. The air felt weird, like right before a storm. I'd heard stories from the locals about skinwalkers, these things that used to be people but weren't anymore. They could change shape, mimic voices, all that. I always thought it was bullshit to scare us white kids, but sitting in that truck, I knew it was real. I've never been that scared in my life. Then I heard the hood slam shut, and my dad came around to the driver's side. He got in, turned the key, and the engine started right up. He looked pale and kept checking the mirrors as we drove. About 5 miles down the road, he finally said,
"Did you see it?"
I just nodded. He nodded back and said,
"We don't talk about this. Not to your mother. Not to anyone."
We never did. We got the medicine from town, drove home, and never mentioned it again. But sometimes I'd catch him staring out at the desert at night, and I knew he was thinking about it too. I found this cave by accident while rock climbing in southern Utah. My anchor gave out and I had to scramble along the ridge to find another route. That's when I saw the opening. Just a dark hole in the cliff face, barely visible behind some dead bushes. It was getting late and I had a long hike back to camp, but I was curious, so I went inside. The tunnel opened up pretty quick into a small chamber, but it was big enough for me to stand up and walk around. That's when I smelled it. Something horrible, like old rotting meat, and then I saw some bones on the floor. They were animal bones, scattered everywhere, but they weren't random. They were arranged in a circular pattern, kind of like a wheel. But in the middle of the bones, there was a skull, and it didn't look human. I decided to turn around and leave, but then I heard it. This wet clicking sound coming from deeper in the cave. Then it came again, but closer, along with a scraping sound. I called out in a shaky voice,
"Hello?"
and then I heard my own voice back at me.
"Hello?"
Same voice, same shake in it, but flat, like a recording. Then I heard something else.
"Anyone there?"
Still in my own voice, but not from my mouth. Something moved at the edge of the light from my headlamp. I only caught a glimpse. It was some sort of creature. Its eyes were big and dark, and the face was almost human, but it was not human. It smiled at me. I turned around and ran as fast as I could. I dropped my bag, but I didn't care. I was running for my life for all I knew. Behind me I could hear it following, calling out in my voice over and over.
"Anyone there?"
Getting faster each time, like it was excited.
"Anyone there? Anyone there? Anyone there?"
I finally reached the entrance to the cave and climbed back up the cliff as quickly as possible. I didn't stop running until I got to my truck. I looked back toward the cave one more time, but I saw nothing. That was 6 months ago. I never told anyone because who would believe me? I dream about it sometimes. I'm back in the cave and something's behind me chasing me, copying my movements, learning how to be me. I don't know what the hell that thing was, but I don't go near caves anymore. I live right next to a Navajo reservation, and I'm pretty tight with a lot of people there my age. My best friend lives less than a mile away, so I walk over there all the time. It's maybe a 25-minute walk. I've done it a dozen times, and I know everyone along the way, so I'm never worried. Except for this one stretch of forest about halfway there. It's always given me the creeps, like something's watching me in there every time I go in, but I figured it was just in my head. One day, I stayed at my friend's house way too long, and by the time I left, it was already getting dark. I hit that forest patch right as the sun went down. I was maybe 10 steps in when I heard a branch snap. You know that sound, the unmistakable sound of something there with you. I froze. I didn't know if I should run or what. That's when I saw it through the trees, about 30 feet away, standing completely still. A deer head with massive antlers, but the body beneath it was wrong. It was too tall, too humanoid. We locked eyes. Even in the dim light, I could see them. They weren't deer eyes. They were too aware, too intelligent, and they were looking right at me. I took a step back and it moved. Not toward me, just shifted its weight. It was watching, waiting. I started walking faster, trying not to show how terrified I was. Every few seconds I'd glance back. It was following me, keeping the same distance, moving through the trees parallel to my path. I could hear branches snapping and leaves crunching. It was not trying to be quiet. Then it made a sound. This low guttural clicking that didn't come from any animal I've ever heard. It echoed through the trees, and my blood went cold. I started to run. Behind me, I could hear it give chase. It wasn't running on 2 legs, or even 4, but something in between, like it was alternating. It was crashing through the brush, getting closer. I could hear it breathing. This horrible wheezing grunt that sounded almost human, but not quite. I didn't stop until I burst out of the forest and hit the main road. I looked back, and it was standing at the tree line. It was standing on 2 legs now, just watching me. The deer head tilted to one side, but too far, like its neck was broken. Then it turned and walked back into the darkness. I ran the rest of the way home without stopping. I didn't tell my mom anything. I just went to my room and tried to process what I'd seen. When I called my friend and told him everything, he freaked out. He told me not to respond to anything that night. Keep my curtains closed and don't look outside, no matter what. Then he said he had to talk to his grandfather immediately. I didn't sleep that night. Around 3 a.m., the air changed. The night sounds stopped. It was completely silent. Then I heard it outside. Slow, deliberate footsteps circling my house, and the sound of something scraping against the side of the house. Then the scratching started at my window. It wasn't frantic, just steady, like it was testing the glass. I sat frozen in my bed, staring at the curtains, praying they wouldn't move. The scratching stopped, but the footsteps didn't. Then it started scratching another window. My mom's room, and then the kitchen. It was moving around the entire house. This went on for hours. Scratching, footsteps, that horrible clicking sound. Sometimes it would stop for several minutes, and I'd think it was gone. Then it would start again, closer. When the sun came up, it finally stopped. My friend called around noon. He had talked to his grandfather, and he said it was a Skinwalker, an evil witch that uses dark magic to transform into animals. It had caught my scent. It knew me now, and his grandfather warned me that since it knew me, it would always follow me. Last night, it came back, and I could hear it outside, circling the house, scratching at different windows, testing the doors. And at one point, I heard something land on the roof. Heavy footsteps walked back and forth above my bedroom all night long. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is this thing really going to stalk me for the rest of my life? I don't think I can take it.